Yo, 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 what is going on, fam? B, and I'm back again today for another Dope Infinity Kingdom video. And today, we're going to be giving you guys an update kind of on our S36 PvP situation. I think it's really interesting to look at how certain servers deal with rogue players and rogue alliances. And I always thought this would be a really good series to make, just to really talk about tactics, because almost every server may deal with some level of a rogue player, up to multiple players, up to one alliance, or maybe a few alliances, or maybe your server is just at constant civil war. And I think giving some tips and kind of best practices on how, S36 is kind of going about approaching our somewhat isolated small situation. And just for some context, right, as some of you might be familiar with, right, we started out with, I think, finding 3 alliances, which was between Kip, I think GA, and Roy, that started out. Eventually, after it happened, basically what we did is, again, because we united everyone pretty much in the beginning, right, we had all the alliances kind of come into the Discord, or at least many from the top, we were able to really start organizing and coordinating our efforts. And from there, right, we have, I think, right now maybe about 30 to 35 of the top 50 alliances that have either their leaders and or officers and maybe some players in our Discord as well. We have an organized kind of management category that we work on all of those things with. And this, I think, has really allowed for kind of the point of where we're at now. Right now, some of you might have seen me talk about the City Siege event, where you have to kind of place in a certain tier category based on the faction points that you hit. And if you hit like, God, I want to say it's like 20, 50, 100, 300, something like that. I'm sure my numbers are a little bit off there from memory, but essentially, if you get to the next faction point level, right, then you'll get a higher payout of green gem rewards, similar to the Supreme Alliance event that is currently going on. Right, this is our second kind of big starter event that every kingdom's going to have, and you can see now, after IS and others just got done taking that last GA city, right, if we scroll down, you'll see there's 20 alliances with cities, and they're not on the list anymore, right? At one point, they were at around 430 GA was, right? But again, they had condensed from 3 alliances to 2, and then eventually now down to 1, right? And there's about like 15 to 25 players that are pretty semi-active, with some being more active than others and some being less active than others. And we've done a great job. See, the challenge here is that one alliance is limited, and even players are limited when you have a smaller number on how many resources you really have at your disposal. And that comes in the form of things like general RSS, right, whether it's your food, wood, stone, or iron, RSS as far as your action points that you have available to you, especially after you've used all your AP items, the amount of troops that you currently have based on how many times you've been hit, how quickly can you re-heal or even retrain, because you have to use more resources for that. And usually at a point in time, it will eventually get down to where it's basically the spenders, or the people who are spending more, are going to have to do the bulk of the work, right? Whereas in the beginning of a server, it's usually a little bit easier to do that, and you don't necessarily have to do as much. So you can typically not have to rely on the big people, right? But now, in this situation where we were able to cut down GA cities in the City Siege event, Roy cities, right, where they ended up getting less rewards than they would have got if we left everything kind of at the top. And even in the Supreme Alliance event now, right, Kip is pretty much gone, Roy is pretty much gone, and now GA, right, had their last city taken. Now we'll see if this holds up on maybe they try to get for 1 or 2 cities prior to the event ending. Again, kind of given this is their off time, I think there's a lot of benefit here. And I think that when GA players notice that, again, the efforts being coordinated kind of against them is one that is a really big uphill battle. And I can't say enough, right? I mean, the fact that IS was willing to go out and take this city, right, big props to them and Bacon and the group there. Again, right, notable mentions, oh gosh, I mean, everyone really here, right, Steelix, Nam, Speedy, Manbear Pig, Mocha, Swoo, Gideon, Count Binky, my boy, Niza, so happy to see Manbear Pig back too as well, I'm glad he's doing well, geez, Tattooed Guru, Purple, Hawaii, Kale R, Tornadoes, right, like, I mean, look, you have MYST, you got Phoenix players here, you have other players that show up from other alliances, right, and this is pretty consistent for what we do, right? Rising Legend, let me see, Hostage, CS, Bind, B, I don't even know how to spell that, Derpstone, Bonix, Cybernist, Luna Zanine. I mean, again, all these people over here, right? Even Prophet and B-Star who are over here helping out as well. Again, big coordinated efforts, right? This is how you constantly put pressure, right? Remember, it's not a race, right? It is a marathon when you are working on kind of cutting the fat out from your server, so to speak, right? And the hope is that I think like in every server, you just hope that people are just going to want to work with you, right? And they're going to want to hopefully look at and be on board for the same goals that you're on board for, right? And the majority of your players are on board for. And right now it's basically one alliance kind of versus not even a full alliance, right? It's a portion of one alliance. It's kind of them against the server. And so again, when you have, 8 to 15 alliances minimum that can capture some of these higher level cities, right? You're spreading out the amount of resources that your group is using versus the limited resources that the same 15 to 25 people have to keep using over and over and over again. That's draining, right? On top of us also kind of timing out the city cap during the kill event that we have going on now, right? These players have just been doing nothing but just spending AP and AP to go around and attack people. And so that also drains resources and makes more of a favorable situation for when we come out and do these things. And so, again, let's say they don't get any cities for this event, right? That's no rewards for them. That means that now their players, again, have to know that other alliances got a lot of rewards from this event, whereas they didn't. And that just is another form of psychological pressure, right, that you're putting on constantly. And I think, again, as I said, right, the efforts that we've put out have been really good, and we're seeing consistent results. But over time, right, you're going to have to see what happens. I'm sure some people are, like the really committed, real true loyalists, right, where they'll kind of stay and kind of see everything through. But then over time, as you've already seen, more and more people are going to keep falling off. So again, guys, awesome showing for IS. The people that attended, and the players that were able to make it out, especially for something that was kind of put together in a little bit shorter of a time that I think our groups, and I'm sure Bacon's group is used to as far as the amount of preparation, but still had a fantastic showing. And again, if it holds through all the way to reset, right, no matter what at this point, an extremely big win for the server. And again, we'll have to see, how things kind of coordinate. But again, utilizing things like a blacklist channel, right, to constantly post cords, right, constantly keeping pressure on players, right, always kind of focusing in addition to working on leveling your troops up and your primary marches. So that way, because the thing to keep in mind is the players who focus on developing their marches, right, and this is more so kind of for the free-to-play, because typically free-to-play, may not be doing as much PvP as others. Thankfully, we have a lot of free-to-play that do go out in PvP and attack GA members and other kind of rogues that pop up in and out of places at times. But working on developing your march, right, through kind of PvE means that your power is going to be increasing typically faster than a free-to-play player who's just doing nothing but going around and doing PvP, because you don't get experience for PvP. You don't get equipment material for PvP. So, right, and then at times, depending on if events are going on, right, and if you have AP left to use, you may not get all the rewards. But the two big ones there, again, is the EXP and the materials, because all of those go right into leveling up your march. So the important part there is that someone, if you compared like two free-to-play players side by side, and one was just going out and doing nothing but PvP, they're using more resources on stalling their overall progression, right? And that, for the most part, is a lot of what you kind of have in the GA Alliance. Now, again, some of those people are kind of light to heavy spenders, so it may not necessarily affect them as much, even though it still does, because they have to use resources in another area that's outside of pure development. So again, but then the difference there is that we have about 10 to 20 times, if minimum, right, the amount of players that they do that are willing to kind of go out in PvP. So like I said, I think good efforts that we've been making so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, just kind of me talking about the situation and kind of what we're dealing with. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, I would love to hear kind of what you're going through in your server. Did some of the things I've talked about kind of help or even provide you with some additional support and resources on how to deal with potential situations? And again, let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to respond to as many people as I can, as always. And then lastly, if you guys want to join our Discord server, or even if you're in S36 and you want to join, as always, remember, guys, we do town halls every Tuesday at around 12:30 to 13:30 UTC. Anyone and everyone that plays IK is welcome, even if you're just looking to kind of see how we manage things, how we run things. If you want to get some ideas, if you want to ask some questions, you just want to engage and participate, everyone's welcome. And I think that's it for me, so I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!